Hello and welcome. You're listening to Exposed Abortion in America, where we uncover the truth of the abortion industry. I'm your host, Eva Cooley, and in today's episode, we are going to hear from Mayra Rodriguez, an ex-Planned Parenthood worker who blew the whistle on Planned Parenthood for their illegal activity. Mayra will tell you about how she ended up suing Planned Parenthood for wrongful termination and winning. Mayra went from being Planned Parenthood's Employee of the Year to becoming their Enemy of the Year. She has seen firsthand how fast Planned Parenthood will turn against one of their own, despite championing compassion towards women. So today we have Mayra Rodriguez on our show, and Mayra worked at Planned Parenthood for 17 years, managed 3 clinics, and even was once named Employee of the Year. But today, Mayra is now a pro-life advocate who blew the whistle on Planned Parenthood years ago. So Mayra, we're so thrilled to have you today. Let's dive right in. Thank you so much for being here. Could you tell our listeners your story? Why are you pro-life?
Well, thank you so much for having me. First of all, it's quite an honor to be recording this and spread my message. So, the difference between a lot of the pro-life people on the sidewalk, I'm like most people won't understand that the majority of people on the sidewalk, we have been on the other side, right? They either had abortions or we participated on abortions, right? So, as personally myself, I would have never had an abortion. I have never had an abortion, so I never saw abortion as something for me. So you could say I was pro-life for myself and my children, right? But I didn't care if other women killed their babies. I didn't care if other women went through an abortion, using the excuse of who am I to judge them, right? So I was what you could call a pro-choice person, right? Give them a choice, which in fact, it just meant pro-abortion, right? Let them have an abortion if they want one, even though I never thought abortion was okay for me to kill my children, right? But working for Planned Parenthood for many, many years, promoting the idea of the abortion and the idea that abortion is okay for women. Actually, I like to say that besides God, Planned Parenthood made me pro-life. So I am pro-life because Planned Parenthood showed me the true colors, showed me what it really means to be pro-abortion when I became the director of the abortion facility.
Wow, that's incredible. Can you tell us more about what was it about Planned Parenthood that opened your eyes to the truth about the abortion industry? Can you tell us more about your experience there?
Yeah. But before I dive into that, let me just tell you how I got there, right? Because most people are like, "Well, how do you get to work for Planned Parenthood and work for 17 years and all of a sudden open your eyes," right? That a lot of people are confused about that on my story. So I grew up in Mexico City, moved to this beautiful country 30 years ago. My desire, my passion was to help women, right? I remember growing up in Mexico City wanting to be a doctor, right? So, women's doctor. So when I came to this country, obviously it's a bit hard to be a doctor when you're an immigrant, right? I had a tourist visa, and you can really go to university with a tourist visa. So my friend worked for Planned Parenthood and they help women. I didn't know much about them, but they help women and they needed people who speak Spanish. I spoke Spanish. So I was like, jackpot, right? My dream. I get to help women. I get to help in my language, in my community. And I started working for them. For 16 years, I work on the side of Planned Parenthood that promotes birth control, well, woman exams, STD testing, the side that most people today, even some pro-life people say, well, that side of Planned Parenthood is good, right? And that's what I defended for many years. Then I became the center director of the biggest facility in Arizona at the end of 2016. And my eyes got opened very quickly, I will say. I only lasted 7 months as the center director because when I started seeing the truth and the reality of the abortion industry, what do I mean by that? The way they treat women, the corruption behind it, the way they do business. It is a business to them, right? The way they handle employees that are on the abortion facility, the way the abortionists act. I always like to say they think they're God, right? Uh, but then what happens to women during and after the abortion?
Now, Myra, you were at one point named Employee of the Year by Planned Parenthood, right? How did you go from being named Employee of the Year to then leaving Planned Parenthood and now you speak out against Planned Parenthood?
So I became the enemy of the year, right? So um, I was really good at my job. I escalated through the rank of Planned Parenthood, right? I was a medical assistant first, and then I became team leader. Then I became the training coordinator for the entire state. Then I became the center director for Title 10 centers. At one point, I was managing 3 centers, right? Which it was at the end of 2016. They gave me the Employee of the Year award because I had done such an amazing job for them, right? And I will literally fight for them through with anyone, right? I will argue that Planned Parenthood was this very humane place that helps women, right? And that what we do is necessary for the world to keep going, right? And so at one point, they gave me this Employee of the Year award because I've been so good at my job and going through the range and just growing up, empowering myself as a woman. And then with that award came the promotion of becoming the director of the biggest facility of abortions in Arizona. And that's when I started seeing what I've been complaining about. And that led me to get fired in 2017. And that's how I became their enemy. So all I did was call out what was wrong at my center. If you ask me, was I expecting them firing me over that? No. I honestly thought I was going to get another Employee of the Year award for being such a good employee.
Right, you'd think so. And what was it that you specifically called them out on?
Well, I started complaining about the complications, right? Like many people, I was told that abortion was safe. I told women that, right? For many years, when women stepped into our center for a pregnancy test, now remember the majority of women going to a Planned Parenthood, they're there for a pregnancy test because they want an abortion. Hardly any of the women that walk into Planned Parenthood are planning to continue their pregnancy, right? They don't go to Planned Parenthood if they're planning to continue pregnancy. They go there because Planned Parenthood knows that they want to discontinue their pregnancy and they're counting on that. So when we give out the results, right? And I know that they wanted an abortion, then you go through the speech of the abortion, abortion is safe, these rare things ever happen. Women are very safe, only this many get perforated, only this many get an infection, only this many, but that rarely happens in our centers, right? And that's a speech you give to women when you sell them the idea of abortion. So then I enter as the director, and what am I seeing? That perforations are done daily. This is not a once in a blue moon thing. This is not a 30% thing. This is a daily. A woman leaves the center perforated. Most of the time, the abortionists didn't even know they're perforated that woman. And what is a perforation? It's when they go inside the uterus and then with the instrument by accident they're perforate, right? It's very easy, right? Our system is very delicate. It's strong because it can stretch as big as a huge balloon for 9 months, but then it's very delicate too. And the instruments they use are very sharp. And then let's keep in mind, they're not even looking to what they're doing. It's a blinded procedure. They can't see inside. Even with a guided ultrasound, they cannot see what they're doing, right? So I call out the perforations. I call out they wouldn't do the reporting that was necessary and required by law. The law in the state of Arizona requires them to report any complication done in the room, and that didn't happen. Right, I call out that the abortionist constantly was misleading the staff, breaking rules and regulations. Arizona had legislation passed that the doctor, the abortionist with the staff have to check that every part of the baby was accounted for: the head, the legs, the torso, the arms. And he constantly will pre-sign that affidavit. Everyone will pre-sign their affidavit so they can move fast. And then he will not even go into the room to check that everything was there, right? So I complain of all this stuff happening in our center, and that the abortionist didn't care. And on top of it, that he was the medical director. That means that he got to oversee every other abortionist. He got to decide who reports what, when does that get reported. He got to lock the charts and add the complications at whatever he wanted to. So I called all those things out. And believe it or not, my employer didn't like that. They actually did not like that I was calling out the truth.
Yeah, and you would have thought that they would have said, "Wow, Mayra, thank you so much for bringing these very terrible things to our attention. We're going to work with you to make sure that the women we're taken care of are given the most quality care." But instead, what did they do? They fired you, right? Can you tell us more about that experience?
You know, the slogan, carry no matter what, I really thought it applied here. I'm like, I'm going to bring this up. The staff keep telling me, Mayra, don't complain about him. People get fired. Don't complain. Don't say anything about the abortionist. Like, don't go there. Like, you can say anything else, but don't touch the abortionist because people get fired. And I was like, I'm not going to stay quiet. No, you'll see. No, because this is wrong. Right. And then when you start talking to staff from like other locations, he was the same abortionist from Tucson. Then you start hearing that this has been going on for many years. He's not the only abortionist. Like this is what's happening in the centers, right? So instead of them saying like, thank you, Mayra, because we care for women no matter what, like our slogan says, it was like, Mayra, just do your job, don't worry about it, we'll take care of it. And Mayra, just do your job, don't worry about it, we'll take care of it. And the take care of it never happened, right? Until one day they called me to the headquarters office and they're like, oh, Mayra, last Friday while you were gone, we found narcotics in your desk, you're fired. And I was like, so last Friday, when I was not even there, you found narcotics in my desk. The narcotics used on women to put them to sleep um, before their surgery or their surgical procedure, right? So I was like, but I wasn't even there. And I knew it was a setup. I knew they were blaming me for something that's serious, thinking that if they were nice to me not to report me or do anything legally, then I should just stay quiet.
And you were doing exactly what you should have done because you, from the very beginning of taking this job, your goal was to help women. And you probably said to yourself, I have to speak out on behalf of these women who are not being given the quality care that they deserve. And then what does Planned Parenthood do? They come back and say, "Shh, be quiet. Don't talk about that." And then they end up firing you. So not only was Planned Parenthood not caring about all of the thousands of women of their patients, they weren't caring for you either. One of their top directors who had just been given Employee of the Year. And I think you experienced what a lot of women experience, which is Planned Parenthood's disrespect for women. And you actually went on to sue them, didn't you, for wrongful termination? Can you tell us more about
I
that?
did. Yes, I did. And you're right. What I thought was, so there was a case of a 19-year-old where he actually forgot the head of the 14-week baby, right? And the staff member came to my office and she was really concerned. Now I'm talking about someone, just a medical assistant, no other medical background, that going through certification for 9 months to become a medical assistant. So she goes into my office. She looked very worried. Mayra, I'm very worried. He says he's done, he's leaving, and we can find the head of the 14-week baby. I go back, we argue. He was refusing to go back in the room. He had already inserted an IUD on the woman, on the young 19-year-old. The 19-year-old was still kind of out of it. And finally, after arguing, they do another ultrasound. They find the head above the IUD, right? He had already inserted an IUD. So I called my supervisor and I said, that's it. So I knew this was a setup. I knew where they blamed me for, and I knew I had to do something about it. I remember that someone from pregnancy center asked me, so why would you want to do this? And I said, because I don't think I can live with myself if I don't try to do something to prove that what I'm saying it's true. So with the help of many people in Arizona, I found a lawyer, Tim Casey, and he helped me out with my case. You know, you can just imagine the scene in his office. Here I tell him this Mexican telenovela, right, a soap opera about my story, and he was like, "I believe you. Let's get on it." You know, and then we sued Planned Parenthood for wrongful termination in 2017. 2019, by the grace and mercy of God, we beat them, you know, against all odds, because if you ever hear them, people are like, you can't beat Planned Parenthood. They're unbeatable. They get away with everything. I mean, of course, they get away with murder, literally, right? They get away with misusing our funds as they please, and no one does anything. And this has been going on for years and years and years. Even when we have been able to defund them a little bit, like back in 2016, it hasn't been quite the whole pie, right? Like, so a lot of people were like, you'll never beat them. You know, like, I don't think you'll win. It's a good story, but that's a really high up. But we did. You know, we won. The members of the jury, they all sided with me unanimously that Planned Parenthood had the wrong, and they did it to keep me quiet. So I won my case in 2019.
Wow. Well, thank you, Mayra, for being one of the people who is brave enough to stand up to them. Because you're exactly right. Planned Parenthood is a giant. They are the biggest abortion business in the United States. And it's not it's not a small thing to stand up and to go against them. And their response consistently to those who do oppose them is one of hatred, and they get angry. I chatted with David Daleiden, the undercover journalist who discovered that Planned Parenthood was illegally selling baby body parts, and it's just crazy to hear about the lengths Planned Parenthood will go to keep their dark secrets hidden. So thank you for being one of the ones who was willing to bring those things to light, because it's a scary thing to do. And I'd love to shift gears and just talk to you a little bit more about abortion and how it harms women. Can you tell our listeners a little bit more, in your experience after working with Planned Parenthood for 17 years, what effects have you seen on women that abortion causes?
Well, you know, for many years, they told me that abortion was safe, you know, and when I heard them, and then I had to hear them say that, you know, that if women felt sad, it was more to do with their hormones, right? That it wasn't that they were feeling guilty, that it was more that their hormones are unbalanced, right? I heard them say that to women in the recovery room when they were crying. It's okay to feel sad. You just feel sad, but it's just your hormones, and because you're in pain, right? It will go away. You'll see, right? Especially if they promote it for them to take pills right after they leave, right? Knowing that those pills will fail again, right? So, you know, but once you start on your birth control, the hormones will help you regulate, and you're going to start feeling better, right? So you're like, okay, what's going on here, right? So for many years, what I saw in that center was devastation, literally, right? Women come into the center kind of like hopeful, right? Hopeful that this will be it. They told me in 2 hours I will be going home, and nothing ever happened, right? They told me that I will take a pill and just bleed like a period. It's like Tylenol, and nothing will happen, right? I had to take phone calls in the middle of the night of patients saying like, so you all told me it was a blood clot. I'm seeing a baby. What do you want me to do with it? Throw it in the toilet and flush it down and don't look? You know, I was trained to do that and tell women that. Can you imagine the trauma of that woman seeing that baby? I mean, I had nightmares of the baby pieces of seeing in that room. I can't even imagine when it's your own child and you have to flush it down the toilet, and I have to tell you to do that. Or the phone calls of the women saying, like, you told me it was gonna be like a period. I think I'm dying. The pain is excruciating and I'm bleeding so much. And I was trained to tell them, put your feet up, put a heating pad, take ibuprofen, call me in the morning. You're okay, right? Always undermining their pain, undermining their sadness, right? Like I told you, hearing the nurses in the recovery room tell women, you feeling sad because it's your hormones. Don't feel guilty. It's okay. It's not guilt, it's hormones. You know, that sadness will go away. You know, when in reality, abortion is destroying women, right? Today, now, I have spoken to many women who had abortions, right? Because obviously, when I was there, I talked to them right on there, and then they left. And I don't think they'll come back to thank me. Not once. I can tell a woman came back to my center and said, "Thank you, Mayra, for having my abortion here. Thank you, Mayra, for whatever you guys did." Not once, right? They were always angry, and they left sad and angry, right? And so it's not like women return to the abortion facility to thank the staff, right? So we don't see them afterwards, right? So then now I get to see women who had abortions, and I actually have met women who had abortions in the center I directed that says, I'm glad you're speaking up now. I was one of those clients there, and my life was destroyed by my choice, right? And I mean, it feels great to be able to apologize to them for all the lies that you fed them, that they told you that it was okay. But so, and then the perforations, I think about how many women that left my center perforated didn't even know, and now they have scars on their ears. They don't even know that's the reason why they can get pregnant again, or why they have miscarriages, or why they have so many issues during their pregnancies, right? So those are all the things that I have seen, right? I have seen the destruction that abortion does to women. So how could you not be pro-life after actually witnessing what abortion does to women, and obviously what abortion does to the unborn? It's not as easy as it looks, piling up those baby pieces in Ziploc bags and then signing your name to the waste management people and say, "Hey, you have my permission to get these babies and throw them in the trash to be cremated with everything else." That's not easy. I always tell people, like, it's comparing yourself to those cartel sicarios, those cartel killers. Now that you're piling up bodies, then most people don't think they matter because they don't have a voice.
Wow, I think that point you brought up, that after your 17 years working at Planned Parenthood, you never had one client come back and say thank you. I think that's such a powerful point that gets to how the behavior that Planned Parenthood has towards women is actually very demeaning. And it actually is not respectful and it's not empowering, even though that's the messaging that they use. They make it seem like abortion is healthcare. Abortion is necessary for women to be brave and to be empowered. I would love to hear your reaction to that type of messaging that Planned Parenthood uses. And I know you've already touched on this, but what would you say to Planned Parenthood now after you see the truth?
Yeah, please stop lying to women. Stop the lies. Stop profiting on women's bodies and babies. Stop the profit. And that's what I would like for people to understand and see. I always tell people, follow the money. If for an organization, a non-profit organization, like they call themselves, their books don't look like a non-profit organization, right? So it's like, what's going on here? Why can people open their eyes to what's happening in the reality of the industry, especially Planned Parenthood? You mentioned they're the biggest abortion provider in the United States. They're the biggest abortion providers, promoters globally, right? And that's why, like, I took my story outside of the United States and I traveled globally because they are everywhere. They have more affiliates than McDonald's in the world. They take our tax money to help pay for babies in poor countries. Enough. They have to stop telling women that they need to kill their babies. I didn't have to kill my babies to work for them and direct 3 centers. So women should not have to kill their babies. There's more for women in this world than abortion, and abortion, it has not fixed anything. I mean, look at us. None of the issues they say abortion helps has been fixed. Poverty is still, like, we still have a lot of people that are poor, right? We still have women abused. It certainly does not help rape victims or has helped bring rape down. So none of the excuses they have done for abortion has helped our society today, but the opposite. I think we now have more hurt and broken women that need to be on alcohol or drug use, become addicted to something because of that abortion. And by now, Planned Parenthood needs to get accountable for their actions, what they have done with our tax money and what they have done to our society. It is about time we bring them to literally make them accountable.
Wow, that was a powerful answer. Thank you so much for that. And we've talked a lot about just the horrors that go on at Planned Parenthood and just how they do not provide the quality medical care that they claim to. So what would you say to women who might be scared and don't know where to turn now? They they might be women who have been hearing these things in the news about Planned Parenthoods, and now they don't know where to go get the quality medical care that they used to think they could get out of Planned Parenthood. Where would you recommend that they go?
Yeah, so well, first of all, I will tell them that they have heard of Planned Parenthood doing all these wrongful things. Finally, now, right? We're hearing it, right? Even though for decades many employees have called out and say that. But if they think any other abortionist will be better than Planned Parenthood, no. This is the abortion industry. It's not only Planned Parenthood. It is the way the abortion industry cooperates, collaborates, and works. So if you are in that situation where you're scared, trust me, I know you're scared, but we have many other places that can help you and keeping your baby. And in this beautiful country, being able to give it up for adoption, it is a choice for you. So, and that's by far a better choice than you killing your baby and carrying that guilt and that trauma for the rest of your life. And for the people who still think that Planned Parenthood does more good things besides abortion, not true. There's many other providers that provide better care, better service than what Planned Parenthood can do for women. Because to Planned Parenthood, abortion is it matters. Abortion is their business, and that's where they put everything on. So please look for other providers. There's many providers that will actually guide you properly to what you need, especially because you don't need abortion. That's what I will tell women.
And what would your message be for women who have already been misled by Planned Parenthood, who have already gone and maybe gotten care that was demeaning to them or was harmful to them? Would you have any words for those types of women?
Yeah. So I took Planned Parenthood to court because of you, the women that have been hurt by abortion, because I know how hard it is for them to take them to court. I know that when they sign that patient authorization, they literally sign their life away to them. So to them, that's what I did, what I did. I didn't do it, I mean, it's great to get on podcasts. It's great to be called to speak and tell my story. But the reality is I did it for those women that had heard an abortion. So then hopefully one day my case will be helpful to many of the lawsuits from women that have been hurt by abortion, but also know that there's healing. I know that because I have sick healing myself, because carrying that guilt of helping women go through that and helping them destroy their lives and kill their babies is something we need to work on, and knowing that there is forgiveness for the people that have done wrong and God forgives us all. So please seek for help. Please find the help for healing and know that God forgives you and you have to forgive yourself.
Wow. Well, thank you so much for joining our podcast today, Mayra. It has just been such a treat to get to listen to your firsthand account of what you experienced with Planned Parenthood. And it's just so refreshing to hear your honesty and to hear your bravery. So thank you so much for what you have done by standing up to the abortion giant. And thank you for your work that you continue to do for the pro-life movement. We so much appreciate your time, and we so much appreciate your story, and that you were so willing to speak out for women that at so many points feel like they don't have a voice. So thank you again, Mayra, for joining us. So grateful for you.
Thank you so much for having me. What a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to Exposed Abortion in America. Our mission is to give you, our listeners, the truth when it comes to exposing the abortion industry. Tune in next week to hear more about the secrets, horrors, and history of Planned Parenthood.